police officer responding to a call from a neighborhood that was terrorized by bees. And right when he got out of the car, he is swarmed by thousands of bees. Minutes go by. He's desperately trying to swat them away.
Dangerous rescue operation in East Bakersfield after he became stuck in a palm tree.
It's an invasion of giant flies. It's something out of a horror movie.
Set of gnashes.
Nature is a beautiful and awe-inspiring place, but beneath its serene surface lies a hidden world of danger. From the depths of the ocean to the towering forests, there are creatures and plants that can pose a serious threat to humans. In this video, we'll delve into the nightmares of the natural world and uncover the deadly encounters that await the unwary.
Kissing bug. What name do you give a bug that leaves bite marks on your face? You got that right, a kissing bug. This, however, is a kiss you don't want to encounter. The bug leaves lethal feces when it bites, which can cause a chronic illness that leads to flu-like symptoms. There's no cure for the illness, and in some cases, it causes an enlarged heart and the thinning of the colon. This bug is attracted to carbon dioxide, which humans breathe out, and that's the reason most of their bites are around the mouths. Their bites occur mostly at night, and they're said to cause a numbing effect on the area that they bite, meaning you don't feel it when you're being bitten. While bug spray works perfectly as a repellent, they can enter homes using any opening, and more so, they can get into door cracks easily. Time to do a home innovation.
The little apple of death. If you ever get a chance to relax on the beaches of the Caribbean, you may come across trees having apple-like fruit lining the coast. You'll be tempted to get closer as they provide you remarkable shade, but you need to be vigilant around this predatory plant. Red band markings are visible on the trunks of these trees. You ought to be extra careful and leave the area, as this tree is the manchineel tree. It's one of the most toxic trees in the world. It secretes a toxic milky white sap that's full of skin irritants so strong it can cause blisters as soon as it comes into contact with human skin. It can also cause second-degree burns. A drop of the sap, if put in a human eye, can result in blindness. This sap, if dissolved in rainwater, can be even more dangerous. If vapors of this tainted water are inhaled, it can irritate and burn the inner lining of your lungs. Keeping in view of extreme danger, the locals have ensured to mark the trunks of the manchineel tree with red bands and also add warning signs. It also produces a small green apple-like fruit, locally known as the beach apple. It is a fatal fruit as described by a British tourist, Nicola, who took a bite. Initially, it tasted sweet, but she was not able to swallow it, and her throat suffered excruciating pain for several hours. Persons who swallow the fruit accidentally suffered from inflamed and blistered mouths and severe digestion problems.
Platypus. The platypus is one animal which seems too good to be true. It looks like a mythical creature which somehow made it into our world. It's a weird mix of different animals. The snout and the webbed feet of a duck, paddle tail of a beaver, and the fur of an otter. How all these different attributes came together is a mystery which only nature can explain. These creatures can swim gracefully underwater with their front webbed feet, but they are a lot less graceful on land when the webbing on their feet retracts and individual nails come out to help them walk better. One interesting point which you probably didn't know about these fascinating creatures is that the males are venomous. They have sharp stingers on the heels of their rear feet which they can use to deliver a strong dose of venom to their enemies. They are, like the slow loris, one of the few mammals on the planet which carry venom, and it's usually produced during mating season for defense. Still want to pick up this cutie?
Candu. Amazon River is full of aquatic life. Anyone swimming through the river needs to be very cautious and alert. Under the surface of the Amazon flows a different race of fish. If you make a single miscalculated move, you may run through the danger of a terrific animal getting inside your body. These are Candu fish that nourish on blood and are found in the Amazon River. The most frightening attribute of Candu is its ability to attack humans by entering the body through the urethra. The gills and short spines on the Candu inflict hemorrhages, inflammation and pain in the victim. It can even result in death of the prey in some cases. Why no one should touch a dead camel. This is a picture of a decapitated camel lying apparently lifeless in the desert. But what happens when someone tries touching it? Firstly, touching a dead camel is a really bad idea. These animals are referred to as the ship of the desert, and sometimes people get the wild idea of extracting the water from a dead camel's hump. A lost traveller once discovered a dead camel, and because he was starving and thirsty, he decided to cut up the camel and extract water. But that didn't work because when an animal dies of starvation, the body prevents lipid metabolism, so the body fat eventually breaks down to gases like methane. The water in the carcass is not digested, and the microorganisms in it slowly decompose and ferment into carbon dioxide and other flammable gases. The dead camel eventually becomes drier and thinner because of the gas formation, causing the body to inflate, and when someone touches it, the body will explode.
Bullet ant. The name says it all. The sting from a bullet ant is compared to being shot at. Not that it's an experience many are familiar with, but you get the picture. The ant attacks the central nervous system and goes through the entire body and makes you feel a great deal of pain. The venom on the ant is, however, not lethal. The effects don't last for a long time. You, however, shake violently, sweat, and your heart races. These are among the largest of the ant species and grow to about an inch long. They're mostly found in the Amazon forest. An Amazonian tribe uses them for some ceremonies where they place them on the hands and they render numerous bites. It's said that once the venom subsides, one has a huge blast of adrenaline. Deer tick. How dangerous are deer ticks? Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, an infected deer tick is a 100. Infected ticks are responsible for transmitting some serious and even deadly diseases like Lyme disease, babesiosis, anaplasmosis, and the emerging Powassan virus. Because you do not know which ticks are infected and which ones are not, it's important to know a deer tick when you see it and to protect yourself from contact with them. These blood-sucking members of the arachnid family were vaulted into the public consciousness in the mid-1970s when it was discovered that they are the primary and possibly only transmitters or vectors for Lyme disease. Lyme disease is a debilitating, though rarely fatal, infection that's often misdiagnosed because early symptoms closely resemble the flu. Victims usually have a slowly spreading bullseye-shaped rash when the tick attached, but not always. If untreated by antibiotics, patients can develop a variety of health problems, including facial paralysis, heart palpitations, arthritis, severe headaches, and neurological disorders. Lyme disease is currently one of the fastest-growing vector-borne diseases in the United States. More than 14,000 cases are reported annually, but because symptoms so closely resemble the flu and usually go away without treatment, scientists estimate as many as 9 out of every 10 cases go unreported.
Spikes and grenades. The sandbox tree looks like something out of a nightmare. Touching the trunk of a sandbox tree with bare hands can result in a pierced palm. The tree is a native nightmare of the tropical regions of the US and South. It grows up to 100 feet tall and is known as the monkey no-climb tree. Its bark is covered with sharp dagger-like spikes that can reach up to 1 inch in length. The sandbox tree also secretes a sap, which is a potent irritant capable of blinding anyone. The tree protects its fruit, which resembles tiny, beautiful pumpkins. Once dried, these seed capsules are the botanical equivalent of hand grenades. Fully matured fruit, when it falls on the ground, explodes, flinging hard, flattened seed capsules at a speed of up to 150 miles per hour. The process helps them spread to greater distances, germinate, and grow.
Slow loris. Do you like living life the slow way? It sure sounds tempting to slow down in our insanely fast digital world. Maybe we should take a lesson or two from these incredibly slow creatures called the slow loris. They are so slow that even when they're threatened, they stop moving and remain motionless. They're not just slow, but they're also incredibly cute. Those large, wide eyes and that tiny nose calls out to you. But before you let the loris disarm you with its deceptively cute face, be warned. All is not what it seems. They are generally found only in Southeast Asia, but what makes them so special and deadly is that they are venomous. Having venom is a rare trait for mammals. What's fascinating is that its venom is not secreted in its mouth like most animals, but by a sweat gland on its arm. If a slow loris bites with its toxin, you can go into anaphylactic shock and experience other unpleasant symptoms. So, do you still want to play with this cute fella now? Probably not.
Electric eel. Every fish possesses some unique attributes. For the electric eel, the standout feature is its ability to produce lethal electric shocks. A fully grown eel can deliver a shock equivalent to 600 volts of electricity. Shocks of such intensity may not be sufficient to cause the death of the victim, but they can have serious consequences. It can result in scars, burns, muscular pain. Mind it, these are the effects of electric shock delivered by only one electric eel. Can you imagine what would happen if a group of 100 electric eels was thrown into a pool? Surely the results would be devastating for anyone daring to jump into the pool. Explosion on the beach. During my vacations, I thoroughly enjoy searching for unique shells on the beach. However, one sight I can confidently say I never wish to encounter during these coastal adventures is this peculiar phenomenon. Good grief, what on earth is that? Contrary to initial impressions, it's not a colossal dinosaur. This is in fact a carcass of a sperm whale that washed ashore in the Western Cape, South Africa back in 2018. Now one might think, well, it's already dead, so what's there to fear? That assumption, however, is far from accurate. As a beached whale undergoes decomposition, it generates gas, causing it to swell and transform into an otherworldly mass, as seen here. The accumulated gas inside the whale continues to build up until the pressure becomes too much for this giant fleshy beach ball, resulting in a dramatic explosion. If you happen to be in close proximity when this explosion occurs, the sheer force of the blast could cause significant harm, not to mention the overwhelming stench. So unless you have a particular fondness for the idea of malodorous whale flesh hurtling toward you at an alarming speed, it's advisable to keep a safe distance.
Fleas. These may seem like common pests, but don't be deceived. Once they get into your home, they can cause complete havoc. They can jump 8 inches, that's 150 times their height, meaning that moving around is not a hassle. That kind of jumping is crazy though. It's like a human jumping the length of 3 football fields. They don't cause severe harm to humans. The intense itching, however, could lead to infection. Fleas are most likely to cause an allergic reaction in pets and anemia from blood loss. Their lifespan is 100 days, and in a month, 25 fleas can multiply to up to 250,000. They are found on cats and dogs and can also go for birds, reptiles and other mammals, including humans. Keeping grass short as well as vacuuming your carpets often is the best way to steer clear of these bugs. Pork tapeworm. Taniosolium, also known as the pork tapeworm, can cause epileptic seizures and other neurological problems in humans from ingesting eggs containing infective larvae. The breakdown of the egg shell occurs in the intestines, allowing the larvae to exit and enter the bloodstream. Once in the circulation, the larvae may settle in many types of body tissues. Sometimes larvae cross the blood-brain barrier and enter the central nervous system, or CNS, where the embryos develop into fluid-filled cysts, leading to a condition known as neurocysticercosis, which results in seizures and is one of the most dangerous parasitic CNS infections worldwide. Diagnosis of this neurocysticercosis is difficult due to the lack of specific clinical symptoms. The disease, which normally affects people in South America, Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, has been exceptionally rare in Western countries. However, a few cases have been reported in the UK and the US.
Ominous oranges. You might consider this bulbous fruit to be a type of orange, but it is in fact not an orange. If you peel off and chow down the fruit, there are chances you may not survive. This is the Strychnus nox vomica, and is generally known as the strychnine tree. Strychnine is an effective poison found in every part of the tree and most prominently in the seeds. If someone ingests it in larger quantities, strychnine can result in involuntary skeletal muscle contractions. It causes the muscles to convulse and tighten to the extent that one's head, neck and spinal column seize into a bridging arch position. This dangerous tree is found in India and Southeast Asia. Surprisingly, it's credited with controlling the spread of the bubonic plague to these regions, as it killed the European rat population that carried the virus to these areas.
Locusts. Surprised? While they do not directly kill humans, the devastation that an invasion can cause has been responsible for crop devastation. The locusts will always eat, but you might not. Desert locusts, or Schistocerca gregaria, have also been called the world's most devastating pest, and for good reason. Swarms from these locust numbers increase and they become crowded. This causes a switch from a relatively harmless solitary phase to a gregarious sociable phase. In this phase, the insects are able to multiply 20-fold in 3 months and reach densities of 80 million per square kilometer. Each can consume 2 grams of vegetation every day. Combined, a swarm of 80 million can consume food equivalent to that eaten by 35,000 people a day. In 2020, locusts have swarmed in large numbers in dozens of countries, including Kenya, Ethiopia, Uganda, Somalia, Eritrea, India, Pakistan, Iran, Yemen, Oman and Saudi Arabia. When swarms affect several countries at once in very large numbers, it's known as a plague.
The toe biter. Delving into the enigmatic waters, we encounter the giant water bug, a creature that seamlessly combines swimming, flying and sheer terror. Despite its leaf-like guise, the toe biter is hyper-aggressive, mercilessly attacking anything, including humans, that dares to approach. In securing its prey, the waterbug employs a gruesome feeding ritual. By biting down and injecting enzymes through its proboscis, it breaks down the prey's innards. The waterbug then consumes the disintegrated insides, with the victim horrifyingly remaining alive for part of this ordeal. While the bite won't dissolve your insides, it inflicts intense pain, warranting utmost avoidance of toe biters. Encountering a male waterbug with a peculiar-looking mass atop, resembling unsettling stuff, signals imminent danger. It's a male bug carrying its eggs. Some species involve females laying eggs on males who become protective carriers. Others deposit eggs on sticks in bodies of water, with the dedicated daddy fiercely defending them. Entomologist Chris Goffert, in her research, experienced firsthand the intense protectiveness of waterbug fathers. Collecting eggs in an Arizona pond, a defensive male persistently attacked her, even falling into the water without relenting. Goffert had to fend off the insect 4 times, including one close call where it snuck into her neck before she swatted it away. The remarkable dedication of these creatures to safeguard their offspring adds a layer of awe, even if encounters prove unnerving.
Brown recluse. This is a very shy spider. That said, it's very deadly and has the power to melt human flesh. Its venom is so potent it can break down skin, fat and blood cells, a process called necrosis. This is, however, in very rare cases. People who are bitten by the spider experience minor discomfort, swelling and redness. The symptoms clear within 3 days without any medical interventions. They can also render severe pain, ulcers, chills and nausea, as well as joint pains and seizures. Luckily, they are shy and don't come out in openly crowded spaces. They like attics and garages. They're the most feared and misunderstood spiders in America. Botflies. These flies will make you cry. They don't necessarily live such a long life, and that said, they have the most peculiar habits. First off, they mate, then hatch the eggs, and then stash them into the bodies of insects such as ticks and mosquitoes. When the eggs are left out, they easily burrow into our skin and feed off the skin until they're all grown up, and fly away, and repeat the process all over again. The larvae of the eggs cause holes to open up on the skin of victims, making them vulnerable to bacteria and diseases which can easily enter through the wounds. There are a few ways to treat someone who's been affected by botflies. The eggs can be removed by tweezers. Doctors also prescribe some antibiotics or even bacon, which is less painful than tweezers. All you have to do is attach the piece of bacon to the affected area, and the botflies will attach themselves to the bacon instead. Just don't eat the bacon afterwards if you know what's good for you.
Enter the Death Stalker. Getting stung by a scorpion is never a pleasant experience. It hurts. However, some of these arachnids go beyond causing mere discomfort. Meet the Death Stalker, the world's most lethal scorpion, living up to its name. A sting from this creature can be fatal, particularly for the young, old or weakened individuals. But don't breathe a sigh of relief if you don't fall into these categories. Its sting can still unleash a slew of unpleasant effects, including nausea, vomiting and diarrhea. Just imagine the horror of facing a swarm of these lethal creatures. In 2021, the southern province of Aswan in Egypt experienced a nightmare scenario. Heavy rainfall forced hundreds of deathstalkers out of their hiding places, prompting them to invade towns and cities in search of better shelter. The result? A total of 503 people fell victim to the venomous onslaught. Thankfully, the local government acted swiftly, administering anti-venom to all those affected. Crisis averted. That could have been a disaster, leading to either a plumbing nightmare or an increase in the local graveyard population. Weird whistling. The savannas of equatorial East Africa are immense rolling plains with scarcely scattered trees and vegetation. The region has a highly silent and seemingly secure landscape. However, you can observe an odd, eerie whistling which presents an exception. Well, this mysterious whistle is not produced by any bird. The whistling thorn makes it. It's borne by an acacia tree that can reach up to the height of 18 feet. Its growth is not very interesting, but on either side of a swollen vine, the tree possesses tens of pairs of huge spikes. These spikes usually reach 3 inches in length. The actual concern is not related to the points, but the swollen bases of these thorns, which are naturally hollow, which makes them the perfect spot for a variety of insects who use them as residing places. Ants may only use these cavities as living space. They live in a symbiotic relationship using the hollows of the swollen vines for building their nests and forming part of the tree's defense mechanism. The fire ants defend the tree by swarming out of their nests and attacking any intruders who might dare to take risks and fiddle with the tree. Fire ants attack ferociously and typically cause instant and intense pain, which swiftly gives way to itching and severe skin irritation, which can prolong from a few hours to a few days. Worker fire ants behave like determined soldiers. They won't give up and ensure the completion of the task at any cost. Ant colonies relocate their bases every few years to another swollen vine, while leaving behind a vacant hollow thorn. When the wind blows, it whistles through the old open cavities and abandoned vines, which makes the tree threateningly whistle in the wind. Well, if you hear an ominous whistle blowing while traveling through the African savannas, just don't be horrified, maintain calm and stay composed. You will not be harmed, as the whistling tree will not chase you.
Mosquitoes. They kill millions of people each year. Once upon a time, it was the deadliest creature on the planet. It's not the bite itself that causes the death, it's the diseases transmitted by these bloodsuckers when they sink their teeth into human flesh. It's only the female mosquitoes that bite because they rely on the protein in the blood to feed their eggs. They use an incredible 6 needles to pierce into the skin. They transmit a host of deadly diseases, the most prominent one being malaria. These diseases destroy the red blood cells, leaving the victim suffering from fever, headaches, body aches, muscle aches, vomiting, and diarrhea. Though this is common in some parts of the world, there's a preventative medication that's quite effective. Zika virus, which is also caused by mosquitoes, made headlines recently after a spike in cases, since it leads to serious birth defects, most common of which results in an abnormally small head. Other diseases linked to the mosquito include yellow fever, Nile virus, and dengue fever. Chikungunya mosquitoes are attracted to bright clothing and scented beauty products. Venomous pus caterpillars. When you first see a pus caterpillar, it looks a lot like a lucky rabbit's foot or even the fuzzy ear of a stuffed teddy bear. But these fluffy insects are anything but sweet and cuddly. Pus caterpillars are highly venomous creatures. While these insects may look soft, their outer combs hide small, extremely toxic spines that stick into its catch. According to experts, a pus caterpillar sting feels like a bee sting, only worse. The pain immediately and rapidly gets worse after being stung and can even make your bones hurt. How bad the sting hurts depends on where you get stung and how many spines are embedded in your skin. Interestingly, pus caterpillars are poop throwers. They fling their poop away from their bodies. Hall believes that this behavior prevents parasites and other potential predators from attacking or harming the caterpillars. This thing is dangerous and gross. Yikes.
Goliath tigerfish. At first glance, Goliath tigerfish looks like any other normal fish. It has a series of sharp, jagged fangs jutting out of its mouth. It's approximately 1.5 meters long, with a size about 4 times that of a piranha, and weighs up to 50 kilograms. Goliath tigerfish, with its enormous size and massive power, is capable of boldly neutralizing any threat it encounters. It's been deemed responsible for numerous gruesome attacks on humans. There have been some reports that it brutally dragged unlucky rivergoers until they were dead. Box jellyfish. Some species in the ocean are capable of inducing instant shock in their victims, and box jellyfish is one of those. Its venom can lead to heart failure, body paralysis, and sudden death. All this can happen in a very short duration of being stung. Box jellyfish venom is so fatal that if the flesh of a person comes in contact with a 2-meter-long tentacle, he would die in just 2 minutes. Even a minor touch by the tentacles may send unpleasant shivers through the body of the victim. And here we thought jellyfish were friendly creatures.
Driver ants. Doralus, also known as driver ants or siafu, is a large genus of army ants found primarily in Central and East Africa, although the range also extends to Southern Africa and tropical Asia. Driver ants have the largest colonies of any other insect in the world. Each colony of driver ants has members of up to 22 million. Using their powerful cutting jaws, driver ants attack everything in their path, including snakes, birds, mammals, and even human beings. Their systematic search for prey involves climbing into trees and shrubs. Even elephants wouldn't have a chance from the group attack of driver ants. Driver ants typically kill thousands of different animals within a single raid. These insects don't usually sting their prey. Instead, driver ants rip their victims apart with their mandibles. A large part of their diet is earthworms. All Doralus species are blind and, like most variety of ants, communicate primarily through pheromones. Sandflies. Sandflies, they don't seem so bad. It's sure they're annoying and they cause itchy little bumps, but they're completely harmless, right? Wrong. Yeah, they're definitely annoying, as most people who've been trying to enjoy a trip to the beach or a picnic will let you know, but they can also carry diseases which they then transmit to humans while on the hunt for fresh blood. Sandflies are tiny and about 1/8 of an inch long, and they're active during dusk and dawn. For the most part, anyone bitten by a sandfly will get a red bump and blisters. Sometimes, though, inflammation and dermatitis can follow, not to mention severe skin sores for weeks or months after they bite. They can also cause parasitic diseases that require ongoing medical care. Fortunately, calamine lotion or hydrocortisone cream can reduce itching and help them heal. Anyone with an ulcer or persistent sore should see a doctor. The eyeworm. Transmitted by horseflies breeding in the forest areas of West and Central Africa, loiasis is known as African eyeworm and gets its name from its most infamous telltale sign, the visible passing of the lau worm through the eye. The larvae of this nematode worm infects humans through fly bites, and the adult can travel through the body tissues for years. Most common in West and Central Africa, symptoms include itching, swelling, and even brain damage in very unlucky victims. The worm only becomes obvious when it reaches the eye, where it can be easily seen and, more horribly, felt by its victim as it squirms across the soft tissue beneath the cornea. This is also when the worm is fairly simple to remove under local anaesthetic.
Brutal bunyas. Australia is a vast and diverse terrain home to some of the most violent plants and animals. Certain ancient trees found in Australia are a hazard because of their pine cones. Bunya pines are believed to date back, by scientists at least, to the Jurassic era, about 199 million years ago, and they're ancient trees that usually grow to a height of more than 100 feet and have rigid and sharp leaves. You must wear protective gear while handling its leaves. Between December and March, bunya trees shed substantial pine cones, weighing up to 40 pounds, and if a pine cone falls on a human being from a height of 100 feet, well, there's a good chance he or she might not survive. In 2015, Sean Mace rested under a bunya pine when a 16-pound cone fell on his head. He had to undergo 2 major surgeries. Seeds of pine cones are edible and form a regular part of the diet of several indigenous Australians. Several tree trunks bear the carved hand and footholds used by the Aboriginals for harvesting the bunya pine cones.
Leopard seal. Here's a cute animal which we've all been accustomed to love because of television. Seals have always been portrayed as the fun-loving, playful animals who goof around with humans at animal theme parks like SeaWorld. But they only showcase the fun and best aspects of this animal. Leopard seals are considered as apex predators, so it comes by default that these creatures cannot be trusted in spite of their friendly-looking faces. They are excellent deep-sea killers who like to lure their prey and play with them before killing them off. Sounds sadistic, but they do this to practice their hunting skills. In 2003, a biologist named Kirsty Brown was not lucky in her interaction with this creature. When her team finally discovered her, she was already dead. They found out that the leopard seal had dragged her underwater to a depth of 70 meters and kept her there for 6 minutes. This was the first ever recorded human fatality from a leopard seal. Their only known natural predators are the killer whale and the elephant seal. With only few enemies, they are a dangerous threat while in the water. So, never let your guard down around these creatures. Bedbugs. Humans have lived with bedbugs since the earliest days of our existence. Or more correctly stated, bedbugs have lived with humans. Since bedbugs are human parasites, our survival is critical to theirs. This may be one of the reasons bedbugs have not been known to transmit diseases to humans. However, while they've not been known to transmit diseases through feeding activities, there may still be health risks associated with bedbugs. They can be responsible for health issues that range from mild to very serious. The most common health issue is related to the itching that often comes along with bedbug bites. Many people experience red bumps or welts on their skin within a couple of days of a bedbug attack. In some cases, the reaction may take up to a week or 2, and some people do not react at all. The bumps or welts look very similar to mosquito bite, but tend to stay with the afflicted person much longer, often 2 weeks or more. These bites can itch incessantly, and scratching is inevitable. That is where the danger comes in. Excessive scratching can cause damage to the skin that may allow the introduction of organisms of infection, some of them very dangerous.
Gimpy. Don't let the name Gimpy fool you. Sure, it sounds kinda cute and definitely nowhere close to giving the impression that it is in fact dangerous. The Gimpy packs a nasty surprise. Okay, full disclosure, this one is not a tree but a plant, but deserves a special mention here because it is a fascinating species which is also poisonous. It is commonly found in the rainforests of northeast Australia and is a species of stinging plants. When entomologist Marina Hurley discovered them while undertaking a study as part of James Cook University, she wasn't expecting things to go as wrong as they did. The whole plant is covered with a layer of stinging hair and can deliver a potent neurotoxin when touched. Hurley, even with her protective gear, got a dose of this neurotoxin. Her symptoms were mild in the beginning, like sneezing, watery eyes and runny nose, but soon became worse. She had to be taken to the hospital where she described the feeling as being burnt with hot acid and also electrocuted at the same time. Fortunately, Hurley made a full recovery and is back on the field, but more cautious. Better stay away from this one.
Pufferfish. Pufferfish certainly look cute enough to be a pet, right? Wrong. Don't let their chubby appearance fool you. The puffiness is one of two defense mechanisms that it has against predators. Thanks to its elastic stomach, it can take in huge amounts of water and air to make itself look bigger than it normally is. What the predator is left with is this balloon-like inedible fish. If that isn't enough to stop the predator from chewing on this fella, pufferfish contain a toxin called tetrodotoxin, which is considered lethal and also tastes foul to other fish. But what's worse is it's also toxic to humans. It's so poisonous that it's considered 1,200 times more potent than cyanide. Also, there's no antidote for it. You would think that these reasons would be enough for people to not fish and eat them, but Japan has different plans. The pufferfish, also called fugu in Japanese, is considered a delicacy, and only trained and licensed chefs are allowed to serve them. But in spite of that, many deaths related to consumption of pufferfish happen every year, so no pufferfish for you.
Striped surgeonfish. The striped surgeonfish is a very fascinating species that attracts onlookers with its peculiar appearance. It's mostly found in Indo-Pacific regions. Despite being attractive, it's not worth contacting casually because its spines are not only used for swimming but also as a defensive weapon. The defensive mechanism is so efficient that hardly any intruder can manage to remain unhurt. It's estimated that so far more than 50,000 divers and snorkelers have been injured by its venomous spines. Although injuries caused by the striped surgeonfish are not fatal, it does cause unbearable pain. It's better to remain on guard and avoid any contact with this nasty animal.
Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog has found a special place in our hearts over the decades. Curling up like a ball and ramming through enemies and running at supersonic speeds, millions of people grew up playing as this blue hedgehog. It's only natural that the fascination with real-life hedgehogs sprung out of the success of this video game franchise. But sadly, as much as hedgehogs are cute in real life, they don't make good pets. Their quills can easily puncture human skin and can hurt a lot. It's not quite like getting yourself an acupuncture. One good thing about hedgehogs is that they don't prick you unless they feel threatened. So as long as you're on their good side, they might just let you go unpricked. Luckily, their quills are not poisonous or barbed like the ones on porcupines, so you are better off with hedgehogs than porcupines. But they're still wild animals and are best left alone.
Trippy tree. The pretty flowers dangling from this tree seem very attractive. These beautiful exotic petals are known as the angel's trumpets. However, those who know about their hazardous attributes would rather call them devil's trumpets. Officially, this plant is called Brugmansia. It was native to the wilds of South America, but can also be found in populated areas. Many people consider it an ornamental plant, most suitable to be placed in a pot on a patio. Hold on, it's also one of the most toxic trees. Its toxins can be fatal for both humans and animals. In the most suitable native climates, Brugmansia grows upward and can attain a height of up to 20 feet. The whole tree is covered with about a foot-long trumpet-shaped flowers. You must be aware that any contact with any part of this plant can cause anticholinergic syndrome in the central nervous system. It can leave the sufferer entirely paralyzed and lead to confusion. Keeping in view its toxicity, the ecologists are forced to wear hazmat suits as routine gear while working with it. Its toxin can also trigger visual and auditory hallucinations. Scientists show that hallucinations caused by the toxin are pretty terrifying, and any miscalculation in handling this tree can literally become a nightmare for you. In 2006, a young man was admitted to the hospital as he had drunk a cup of Red Angel trumpet tea. It was reported that he suffered throes of vivid hallucination. He even cut off his own tongue. Marbled cone snail. Due to their beautiful textile patterns, cone snails are famously used in making jewelry. Despite their fascinating outlook, they're not worth touching casually while they are alive. Anyone taking the risk of contacting them may have to regret this venture. The cone snail possesses an elongated sharp tooth and uses it like a harpoon to throw venom that paralyzes the victim. Subsequently, the cone snail feeds on the victim. Several species of cone snail have stings similar to the stings possessed by bees. A person falling victim to the cone snail may display symptoms like vomiting, swelling, localized pain, respiratory failure, and paralysis. The cold killer tree. In addition to manchineel, the Caribbean has another dangerous tree known as the Pisonia tree, having thick canopies which lure birds to nest inside its branches. The Pisonia depends on animals for carriage of its seeds far from the parent plant. It releases sticky, gooey seeds which adhere to the bird's feathers. These pods are so sticky that they're capable of entirely incapacitating birds, as some of them might be lugging about more than 200 seeds. The birds can neither fly nor move and are not able to get rid of these seeds. Therefore, the poor birds die due to starvation, fatigue, or falling prey to predators. So far, botanists have not found the reason for this phenomenon, as the tree gets no material or apparent benefit out of all of this. It can even harm humans if one doesn't exercise due care. Barracuda. A large number of divers and swimmers agree that barracuda fish look insanely frightening. It has a set of fang-like teeth that make it appear like a monstrous, brutal predator. We need to know whether they are actually as harmful as perceived due to their appearance, or they comparatively easy to deal with. It's advisable to keep a safe distance from these terrifying animals, as they are capable of catching you because of their amazing swimming skills. They can swim across all types of water conditions at a speed of 25 miles per hour. They rarely attack humans, but still one needs to avoid their company, as their sharp teeth cause an excruciating bite. It's always wise to be mindful of your safety while going for fun. Killer bees. The snake's choice of food alters if it lacks fangs and venom. But what about bees, though? What if they lose their stingers? Bee stingers are well known among people, and a bee just wouldn't be able to live if you suddenly take it away from it. However, that's not the case for vulture bees. Vulture bees eventually lose their ability to sting. In fact, they lost their stingers and they're doing quite all right. But how? Vulture bees first don't seem all that different from other bees. Their body structures are mostly the same after all. Legs, wings, and eyes. Vulture bees also have hives, make honey, and consume meat. I'm serious. Bees consume meat. Vulture bees never touch buds or blooms. Rather, they obtain their sugar from specific plants, fruits, and nectars. What about protein? Protein is obtained from the decaying meat that bees bring into their colony. Even if it seems like a terrible idea, give it some thought. In order to prevent a pandemic in the hive, insects often strive to get rid of their deceased. However, in this case, we have rotting flesh willingly brought into the hives. The meat is treated differently by vulture bees, who then store it in little pot-like receptacles. Can we claim that they prepare it in a unique way? Researchers have different opinions on this, but the general consensus is that bees store meat until it's time to feed the larva. Some scientists believe that these bees decided to give up the stinger, since this would involve some kind of specific evolutionary mechanism. They may have had to sacrifice their stingers in order to obtain something like jaws. At least that's what they think. Additionally, vulture bees have unique teeth. Some accounts even claim there are many of them, and they aid in biting flesh. I get what you're saying. Eating food like that isn't enough. You also need to find a way to digest it, and few species are capable of making flesh rot. The fact that vulture bees cannot sting their foes does not render them harmless. I don't see how a meat-eating animal can be referred to as harmless, especially considering that vulture bees can bite. Exactly like lions or crocodiles, I suppose. You have a little period of time to picture a bee with a crocodile head.
This shocking image shows a human thigh completely covered in vulture bees, creating a nest within the flesh. Vulture bees, known for their carnivorous nature, are attracted to open wounds and decaying flesh.
How about the safety of this honey? Can we consume this honey as is, or is it a nasty toxin that can kill anyone that isn't a bee? After all, the dead body's abundance of deadly microorganisms is no laughing matter. According to the information I found, vulture bee honey doesn't include any ingredients that might be harmful to people. It's a fantastic food, just like regular honey, and it appears to be healthy all round, just for a minor detail though, it is radioactive. When American honey samples were tested, experts were shocked to find remnants of the 1950s and 1960s nuclear tests. More specifically, it was a cesium-137 isotope, and some samples had concentrations that were 100 times greater than those seen in other meals. But don't panic. Health risks do not exist here. The level of cesium-137 in American honey, according to researchers, is well below what is deemed dangerous. For comparison, the Florida honey that was determined to have the most radioactivity during the investigation had 19.1 becquerels per kilogram. The cutoff for food safety is 1,200 becquerels per kilogram at the same time. You understand, right?
That's all for today. From the venomous snakes to the deadly plants, the natural world is filled with hidden dangers. Remember, always be cautious and respect your surroundings. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more thrilling explorations of the natural world.